On the last part, Mercenary Tao faces off against Raditz. Despite Gero's impressive upgrades, Mercenary Tao was still unable to overcome Raditz's might, needing Android 19 to come to his rescue. Android 19 dispatches Raditz with ease as he reports the situation to Dr. Gero. In the next year, Dr. Gero establishes his spy bot network even further, making sure to monitor all ships entering and leaving Earth's atmosphere, along with strengthening his android creations in order to prepare for any upcoming fights. Thanks to his spy bot network, Gero spots two spaceports crash landing into a city nearby. Gero decides to send Android 19 and Mercenary Tao to scout out the potential threat as they come across Vegeta and Nappa. How will this confrontation go? Well, these are questions we will answer today on Dragon Ball Z. Vegeta and Nappa look at Mercenary Tao and Android 19 with an expression of curiosity. Vegeta steps forward, asking whether they knew the Saiyan called Raditz. However, Mercenary Tao and Android 19 didn't speak. They chose to remain silent. Instead, they suddenly charge forward, immediately with 19 facing Vegeta and Tao facing Nappa. Tao has been upgraded immensely in the past year. He was becoming more and more like a full android and less like a cyborg. But in exchange for the loss of his humanity, Tao was ridiculously powerful. With a power level of about 15,000, Tao was treating Nappa like his personal punching bag. Nappa couldn't even fight back. Meanwhile, 19's power level can't be measured, but his combat strength actually surpasses that of Vegeta. Vegeta immediately realizes that he is in deep trouble when 19's attack starts penetrating his defense. 19 punches Vegeta solidly in the stomach, sending Vegeta tumbling to the ground, gasping for air. Vegeta tries to shake off the damage that 19 had inflicted, but he realized he was hurt more than he thought. This Android 19 was a serious foe, one Vegeta couldn't take lightly. Looking at Nappa showed Nappa faring even worse than he was. Vegeta yells at Nappa to create a fake moon. He would do it himself, but it takes up a lot of energy. Nappa temporarily ignores Tao and instead focuses his ki into his palm. During that brief moment of distraction, Tao finally puts an end to Nappa, plunging a hand straight through Nappa's chest. Nappa coughs out blood, falling to the ground, but in his passing moments manages to throw up a fake moon. Vegeta grins as he looks up into the sky as he starts to transform. The sudden surge in ki from Vegeta knocks 19 and Tao back. Vegeta transforms into a giant Great Ape as he now towers over the two Red Ribbon Army fighters. Vegeta smiles as he rains a flurry of strong and fast punches towards the two. Despite his huge size, he was still extremely agile. 19 and Tao manage to dodge out of the way in time, but Vegeta doesn't let up. Vegeta continues punching and kicking and eventually lands a hit on Tao, sending him flying away. Vegeta grins at Android 19. He'll make sure that 19 suffers the humiliation he felt. However, suddenly Vegeta was sent flying backwards into the mountains. Gero himself has finally joined the fight. Gero tells 19 and Tao to evacuate as he flies forward. Vegeta now gets up, utterly pissed off. He lunges at Gero. However, Gero doesn't even bother to dodge as he simply stands there, waiting for Vegeta's punch. Vegeta yells and he throws the most powerful punch he could muster at Gero, but somehow his punch stops. Vegeta looks in disbelief as Gero holds his punch off with his palm without any difficulty whatsoever. Gero scoffs. He hoped that this would provide more of a challenge, but oh well. Zero shoots a laser through Vegeta's heart as Vegeta stumbles back before his entire Grade 8 frame collapses on the ground, immobile and unmoving. Vegeta de-transforms, but by that time, he had already lost his life. Just like that, the Saiyan invasion was stopped in its tracks by Dr. Gero, but with Nappa and even Vegeta's life forfeit. In another part of the universe, Frieza was curious about what had occurred with his 3 Saiyan henchmen. Raditz had dropped off the radar a year ago, and now the other 2 were also gone at the same place. Frieza drums his fingers on his floating chair. Could they be playing some form of trick? Had they gone off the radar in order to plot a rebellion against him? Frieza couldn't help but speculate. After all, the Saiyans were treacherous monkeys. Frieza never trusted them, and he knew they didn't trust him either. Frieza presses on his scouter several times. Hearing Ginyu's voice, Frieza tells Ginyu to listen to him closely. There was a planet he wanted them to investigate. Planet 4032 Green 877, a planet in the northern quadrant of the universe. If they saw anything suspicious, they would immediately report back to him. Ginyu immediately agrees before cutting off the connection. He was ecstatic. Lord Frieza hadn't given them a personal mission in a long while. Ginyu immediately strikes a goofy pose as the rest of the Ginyu Force follow suit as they make their way into the space pods and towards planet Earth. As usual, the spy bot network Gero had set up detects the Ginyu Force's arrival first. Seeing the space pods look similar to the ones that Vegeta and Nappa had, Gero thinks that the intruder could be more Saiyans. But he was proven wrong when 5 alien-like looking creatures come out instead. They spoke the universal language, so Gero could spy on their conversation. One further thing to note would be their uniforms that bore an uncanny resemblance to Vegeta and Nappa's Saiyan armor. Gero immediately presses a button on his desk as alarms start bearing, and 5 Red Ribbon Army soldiers fly towards the direction of the Ginyu Force. They were none other than Tao, Android 19, and 3 new additions, Magenta, and Androids 14 and 15. They were part of the special elite force from the Red Ribbon Army and were used to neutralize potential threats to Earth. After Tao and 19's loss to Grade 8 Vegeta, Gero had upgraded them as much as possible in order to ensure that such a loss wouldn't occur again. And of course, he had to recruit more fighters to the cause as well. 2 was simply not enough. Now, let's go back to the Ginyu Force. The Ginyu Force were about to split up to cover more ground, but their scouters sensed 2 impending power level signals. One was Tao and the other was Magenta, because they were still cyborgs, not full androids. The other 3 were androids and had no traceable power level. Their power level wasn't strong, because Tao and Magenta were heavily suppressing themselves, but Ginyu still told everyone not to let their guard down. The Ginyu Force prepared themselves for a potential impending fight. So, will a fight break out between the Ginyu Force and the special elite force from the Red Ribbon Army? And who will come out on top? Well, these are questions we will answer in the next part on Dragon Ball Z.